Hello, you're with Bahati Abdul Karim, and I'm taking you through A-level applied mathematics. We are still on flowcharts, and today we're going to look at our last example on performing a dry run. So here, this example is different in its way. It relates the Newton Raphson's method with flowcharts. But you realize that here, they will have drawn for you the flowchart, and you will have to perform a dry run. So here our question says, study the flowchart below. That means the flowchart is already drawn for you. Then part A, perform a dry run taking n equaling to 20, x naught equaling to 4, and obtain the root correct to 3 decimal places. And then part B, state the purpose of the flowchart. So here you will realize that they will have drawn for you the flowchart, and then for you just need to perform a dry run. So let's look at the flowchart. The flowchart starts, and it starts with a value of small n equaling to 0. After that, it reads capital N and then x naught. You will have to note that this x naught comes after n equaling to 0. That means that x is written as xn, and this n is taking on a 0. That means we have x naught. When n becomes 1, we will not have x naught. In that case, we will have x1. And when n becomes 2, in that case, we will have x2. So you realize that this x will be depending on the value of n. And then next, we read xn plus 1 equaling to xn squared plus n out of 2xn. So this is the formula that we're going to be substituting in. I'm going to show you how we're going to be substituting in this formula. The next thing is the decision box. So after calculating the value of x, you come to the decision box and ask yourself, is xn plus 1 minus xn magnitude less or equal to 0.0005? This number of dp's comes from here. This is 3 dp's. So if this was 2 dp's, then here would have 0.005. If this was 1 dp, then would have here 0.05. Then the next thing is, if the magnitude of xn plus 1 minus xn is less than 0.0005, then we print that value of xn plus 1, and then we stop. How about if it's a no? If the magnitude of xn plus 1 minus xn is not less than 0.0005, then we go and increase the value of n. So initially, our value of n was 0. So our n was equaling to 0. And now, when we increase the value of n by 1, our n becomes 0 plus 1, where our n will now become a 1. So now, that means this x, which was taking on a value of n as 0, it is not going to take n as 0 now. It will also take n plus 1. And you can see it here, that the value of x now becomes n plus 1. That means if we had x as x naught initially, now it becomes x0 plus 1. And this becomes x1. Then, after that, we go and substitute that value in our formula. So let's see how we're going to perform a dry run. As I told you, for the dry run, you just have to draw your table. So you draw your table and put in the values. So the first value I'm going to put here will be n, because n was assigned first here. And then after putting n, the next thing I will put will be xn. That means I will have my values of xn in that column. And then that is because we have to get xn after getting n. then the capital N is not going to be in the table here because it is a constant. So the next thing we shall have here is xn plus 1. So after getting your xn, you now need xn plus 1. And then lastly, we're going to get the magnitude of xn plus 1 minus xn as the last thing. So this magnitude is important because it tells us when to stop. If you don't have it, you will not know where to stop. So our initial value of n is a 0. So we put a 0 here. And then our xn, our x naught, because this n is 0, so this x will be x0. Then our x naught, this x now becomes x naught because the value of n is 0. So this is x naught. And our x naught is 4. So we write a 4 here. That is our x naught. Then for xn plus 1, our n is 0, so this becomes x1. So our x1 will be calculated using this formula here. So we are going to use this formula. And we come here and substitute our x naught where there is xn. So the formula now becomes x naught squared plus capital N out of 2x naught. So here we are substituting in our x naught values. And our x naught is 4, so we shall have 4 squared plus n, which is 20, and we divide it by 2 times 4. This will give us 4.5. And we come here and put our value as 4.5. And this becomes 4.5 minus 4, which gives us 0.5. And when you check this value in our decision box, you realize that it is not less than 0.0005. So we have to take this side of no, go and increase the value of n. So our n now becomes plus 1. That means 0 plus 1 will have 1. And our xn will not be a 4, but rather it is 4.5. So this will be 4.5. And then we're going to use this xn to calculate the next x. So our x1 is equaling to 4.5. That means now we are looking for x2. Then x2 will equal to 4.5 squared plus our n is 20 divided by our 2 times our xn, and our xn in this case is 4.5. This will give us 4.4722. Now you realize that I'm writing this in 4 decimal places. That depends on the number of dps they want your answer to be in. Here our answer must be in 3 dps. That means we must work with greater than 3 dps. Then we come here and put our 4.4722. So this is our xn plus 1, which is our x2. Then when we subtract 4.4722 minus 4.5, we get 0.0278. 0.0278. Then we now go and check, is this value less or equal to 0.0005? No, this value is greater than 0.0005. That means we go and increase our value of n, so it becomes a 2. Then here, our xn now becomes 4.4722. So this will be 4.4722. And then when you substitute this in the formula, you will get 4.4721. 4.4721. And when you get the difference between this and this, you will get 0.0001. And when you check this value, it is less than 0.0005. That means we stop there and we print our value of xn plus 1. And in that case, it is this value, and this value gives us the root. Therefore, the root becomes 4.472, because they said we must put it to 3 decimal places. And then the purpose of the flowchart is to print the square root of the number n. For today, we are going to stop here, and in the next video, we shall see how we can construct flowcharts when we are given some information. Subscribe to our channel if you want to be updated whenever we release a video. And if you find our video interesting, give it a thumbs up and leave us a comment in the comment section. Thank you for watching. May God bless you.